This is DJ.
And this is Ish.
And this is
Season 6 of
Pero Let Me Tell You.
So as you know, we've been in Los Angeles, the city of angels, Hollyweird, or whatever else they call it. Had fantastic time, met up with so many fun people. You've already heard our chat with Eddie Zamora. You've also heard our interview with Alain Mesa. And this week we have the one, the only, Jenny Lorenzo. She was so gracious to agree with us to meet up. And honestly, it was starting out that we were just going to kind of do, 20, 25 minutes and chat with her, a little catch up, nothing big. That turned into the hour and change interview, not even interview, episode chat that you're about to hear now. So, we initially had planned, DJ and I were going to kind of do a 20-minute just us version thing and then introduce her. And we tried not to take up too much of her time, but apparently she's down to chat with us. She is a pero prima after all. No, we just talk about so many things, the writer's strike, living out west, Miami, Cuban culture, the usual stuff that you all tend to tune in for here. So, I really want you to go ahead and enjoy our chat with Jenny Lorenzo, and we cannot wait to go back to Los Angeles. As we said many times, we wanted to do this starting in 2019 every year, and then that silly little pandemic happened and ruined everything, kind of ruined our ability to do that. So the goal is now moving forward to go ahead and do that as often as possible, minimum time a year. And just as we met with Alain, Eddie, and Jenny, there's so many other people out there in Los Angeles that we cannot wait to connect with yet again and again. And again, special shout out to Isa and Martha and the whole Darby clan, frankly, even though we didn't do a sit down with them because we met at Porto's. Porto's is way too noisy to even pretend that we're going to do any type of interview that will be heard by humanity. And that's the fact that you're about to listen to us chat with Jenny, where we did it on a sidewalk at a cafe with traffic behind us. So I think Porto's, you're a little noisier, but I'd expect nothing less from a bakery started by a Cuban family. I don't expect y'all to be quiet. Cubanos que no hablan, por favor. That's weird. I think that just means they're dead. All right. So I'm going to take you to our chat with Jenny Lorenzo after a word from our sponsor. Oye, mi gente, Ish here. Let's face it, sometimes we need a little energy boost to focus during the day, pero want to avoid those energy drinks with who knows what in them. Bueno, let's talk about the sponsor of today's podcast, Neuro Gum and Mints. Developed by former athletes who don't want to take supplements or energy drinks when they're studying, training, or going out, these gum and mints were endlessly lab tested with thoughtfully curated natural ingredients to create 3 different products. There's Calm and Clarity with vitamin D3 to optimize clarity of mind, or Health and Vitality, which is infused with immune boosting vitamins to help strengthen your body. Now, y'all know I have a full-time job, co-host, and produce this podcast, not to mention help run wing pop-ups. So I am all about the energy and focus mints right now. And let me tell you, I am definitely feeling those B vitamins pushing my mental endurance so I can focus on everything I need to get done each week. So it's better than Calm, Focus, Energy, and Vitality. Getting them at a discount. Visit tryneuroGum.com/pero to get up to 20% off your purchase of Neuro Gum or Mints. That's right. Head to tryneuroGum.com/pero and get up to 20% off your purchase today so you can have a little more focus and energy tomorrow.
And we're back.
Yeah, you haven't said that in a while. So as we said, it's true because lately we just do you and me, and it's like I just figure out where the commercial break goes and pa'lante. But today we are echando pa'lante with, as we said, the one, the only, the fabulous, the wonderful. I have so many adjectives that I can't think of right now, but we are here with Jenny Lorenzo.
Hi.
How are you? Oh, I love it. You were being Alaska.
It's so nice to see you guys out here in sunny Burbank.
Yes. Yes.
She's not exaggerating. We are on the sidewalk at a cafe in Burbank.
And as you guys know, this is part of our Pero Let Me Tell You Goes West.
Yes, we went further than
our
Kendall.
California episodes.
Yes.
I feel like we need to have like an old school like Oregon Trail type of music, like the.
Well, you know what
Gold
what
Rush.
we
Nobody
wanted
gets
to do.
dysentery. We're
You know
fine.
what we wanted to do? I don't know if you saw it, that our promo this year, we redid the opening of Laverne and Shirley
Yes, that was so good.
at the Jupiña factory. But you know that Laverne and Shirley also moved to LA in the show.
The last
Yes,
two
yes,
seasons.
that's right.
So he was like, "Shouldn't we do a movie?" I'm like, that's too much work.
But I mean, I'm here to help you. I have all the equipment
now we
if
have
you want
crew.
to do another parody. Because I think you should at some point do like a West themed.
Yeah.
Parody
intro.
video.
Well,
Yeah.
maybe next year.
Next year when we
Yeah.
come back. Yeah.
Because next year we want to do, for our next season, we want to do another like sitcom intro, and we have some ideas.
Oh
so.
my God, how
Yeah.
fun.
That was so funny. But when you saw it, like they we did it, as you know, in the Jupiña factory.
I'm so jealous.
And we were so like, okay, look, OSHA violations are not going to let us do this. And the guy from Jupiña
Yep,
was like,
Alex.
you do whatever you want. And we were like,
Damn, bro.
awesome.
I need the hookup. I want to shoot something at the Jupiña factory.
Next time
That's
you're in
my
town,
favorite
let us know.
soda. That's my favorite
we
flavor.
got you. We have
It
the hookup.
really is good.
I'm
like,
Team
we,
Jupiña.
we were telling him, we're not blowing smoke up your ass. Like, we really love Jupiña.
For real. Like, I love Materba, but Jupiña's
Well,
my fave.
That's theirs too. So you're covered on all
Okay,
bases.
great.
Yeah, exactly.
You're good.
Oh, fantastic.
So you're good on all bases.
Great.
But one of the things that I wanted to bring up, because as we were driving here to meet up with you, you said we're in Burbank, and this is where all the studios are.
A lot of them, yeah.
It's Warner, NBCU,
CBS. Por aquí,
Disney's around here
Disney.
somewhere, right? Yeah.
Yep.
And we passed by a lot of people on strike
Yep.
for the Writers Guild of America, the WGA,
Yep.
and I have
I'm
to
sure
say,
you passed by a lot of my friends.
I was keeping an eye out. I don't know if they were your friends, but I was keeping an eye out because, I'm like, somebody here, is like a star writer, producer.
100%. Like celebrities are going out there
Yeah.
and picketing. I'm going to be joining a picket line potentially at CBS or Netflix on Tuesday. So
Is Netflix out here también or no?
Netflix is out here in Hollywood. So that's happening. Universal, a lot of people are picketing out there, which is also where Telemundo is. So
that's where you're going to have to go.
So
By
for-
default, they've sent you to
for our
Telemundo.
listeners,
Ay, Dios mío.
because a lot of times when these strikes happen, they cover it in the news and they just say, oh, so-and-so's on strike, but they don't really get to the nitty-gritty
Right.
on like why it's on strike, what happened, what broke down. So tell
And
our
most people-
listeners, really like, because we wanted to talk about this actually in last week's episode, but since we knew you were going to be co-hosting with us, we're like, Jenny will be the perfect person to talk about this.
Because we have questions we don't know.
Yeah, what is really going
Things.
on with this strike and why it's happening?
I mean, writers, members of the WGA have been fed up for a long time. It's to the point that even if you're a writer on one of the most successful shows on streaming, many of them have to get on food stamps. Many of them have
Really?
to take other side jobs or day jobs in order to make ends meet
Wow.
because they're not getting paid properly. They're not getting residuals.
So you could work on like Bridgerton.
Right.
And-
You could work on Succession and it doesn't matter. You're not getting paid what you're worth as a writer. And, it's not a surprise to anyone that the world runs on corporate greed and power-hungry
It
people.
Does you say?
What?
Pero qué sorpresa!
Wow.
Wow, Jenny's just here dropping truth bombs everywhere.
These people have like so much freaking money, and it's wild because they didn't even bother countering most of these.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was just like, nope. And so, claro, that's why the strike is happening.
So it wasn't even like a negotiation that fell through, or just it was an impasse. The execs were like, no, thank you.
Yes, and it's the contracts are public. Well, the contract is public.
The one that they rejected.
Yeah. So, and in that document, you also see the Writers Guild's plea to not use AI to write scripts.
That is
And
terrifying.
the studios said, nah,
Okay, we really.
So they just flat out said, no, we will use AI if we want to.
I'll tell you now. I'm going to open it up so I have like the better terminology.
Let's really dissect that, because I feel that this whole, what is it?
The chat GPT.
The chat GPT. It's one of those things that like I hadn't heard about it, and then when I heard about it, then I hear about it now all the time.
Right. It's like when you buy a car.
Yeah, because I know we did that a few months ago or some episodes ago where we did the whole chat GPT here on the show.
I had them scripted
right.
For
and
us.
We were actually surprised how it did better than what we thought.
Yes, it was quote unquote accurate, but it sounded like a machine. Right. It was.
Because I messed around with it a little bit myself, and I'm like, yeah, this is never. I can't say never because the future's terrifying. I honestly, side note, I didn't think I would see something like this until maybe I was really old, or I wouldn't have seen it at all.
Yeah.
That it was going to happen after my lifetime.
Yeah. Why are we actively courting Skynet?
I don't know. But it's all happening so quickly. And I went down an AI rabbit hole, and I found out that all of this became available to the public in November of 2022. Oh, yeah. So, because I personally didn't hear about ChatGPT until maybe 2 months ago. I don't,
So let's tell people actually what ChatGPT is.
Yes.
Again,
It's an AI program, artificial intelligence, and for all intents and purposes, what it does is you type in what you want it to create.
Right.
So we could type in create a script for Pero Let Me Tell You, and what it does is it kind of puts out all its little AI tentacles, searches through the internet, and for instance, because I always put little descriptors in our show notes, and we put certain there's certain hashtags that we use on our Instagram and any little thing like that, and then it just compiles and it says, okay, and again, this is all happening fairly quickly. It essentially says something like, okay, so it's a podcast, they're based in Miami, there's 100 mentions of Cafecito, there's 3 of Jupiña, okay, so I'm going to put this together and be like, hi, we are a Miami podcast, and we are powered by Cafecito.
I could understand how that could
work.
work.
It's very
stilted.
basic.
Very,
it's
yeah.
very
But I could
basic and
understand-
a little cringy.
I can understand how it could work for like a press release.
It works for writing an email or, putting your thoughts together in a more cohesive and clear way.
Bullet points,
or, even if it's like writing a bio.
I wouldn't even say for an email, just because, listen, I got dinged at work one time for bringing down morale with my emails, so that ChatGPT is not going to be more uplifting than me.
But
okay?
I guess what I'm curious about in terms of writers, for a show, I mean, episodes of whatever show are topical. So how,
depending on the show,
it's topical. There's a plot line. There's subplot lines. How does this adapt to like the plot line?
Continuing story? That is a good question. I don't.
So I mean, it's just like a fear though that they think that writers are going to be replaced by.
A lot of writers are really scared right now about AI, and it's not just writers, voice actors. Being one of them.
Yeah.
That's already starting to become a hot topic because AI already, in its early stages, has the ability to copy a voice actor's voice. And a plot, voice actors are afraid that studios are going to start just using AI voices.
There was some concern, now you said voices, I forget what brand, was using AI models.
Yes, I saw that article.
And they were like diverse.
Right.
But then the critique back was like, okay, guys, but why weren't you doing this when you had to hire people?
Right.
Like why? So
hasta los modelos.
Hasta los modelos. Yeah.
They're doing it with models. They're doing it with actors. They're doing it with voice actors. They're doing it with writers, and beyond like the creative realm. Well, no, this is still within the creative realm, but like web design, graphic design,
ad agencies,
programming. That's so.
She's getting comfortable. She's settling in.
But the thing is, like, I went down a rabbit hole, like I said, and I watched so many videos, and it's just like with any technology and humanity combined, it can be used for good and it could be used for bad. For instance, in the medical field, it is doing a lot of crazy breakthroughs.
How so? I haven't read anything
there
about
was one specific, and again, I'm not going to get the jargon right, but there was for many, many decades at this point, the human body has all these proteins.
Right.
A lot of diseases y todo eso revolve around these protein strains in the body. It takes just to unravel and map out one protein strand, it takes one person with a 5-year PhD and X amount of years to get the one protein strand.
Shit.
AI found all the protein strands. I don't know how long it took.
But less time.
Way less time, to the point that the guy being interviewed said, because the interviewer asked, well, how long would it have taken if it was done just by humans? He said millions of years.
Millions?
Millions.
Wow.
Well then.
And AI, so he's like, well, what's this going to do now for us? He's like, there's going to be more development now in antibiotics. You know, there's going to be potentially cures for diseases at a faster rate now because of AI. So you're like, damn, like, it's terrifying, but it's like, it can do so much good for humanity. But es la misma mierda como el internet.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or in social media, it's like, fuck, like, it keeps us all connected across the world, information, do-do-do. And then you've got QAnon.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's the first thing that comes to mind.
See, I always say,
And
sadly as it should,
cyberbullying
yeah.
and-
now that you say internet, like I always say, remember the days of the innocence of MySpace? That you would post pictures of your the biggest
when
thing
we were
was
all
The top 8.
coders.
the top 8. That was the
And we
biggest
were all
controversy.
coders,
That was the biggest controversy. Like, oh my god, what am I gonna put in my top 8? Like, I hope Fulano isn't mad.
That was the
you know?
biggest issue.
I knew
of
better
the
than to
time.
ever remove him from my top 8.
but it was like, you know, it was, you're a little bit naive in a way, that because you think back, it was so genuine, sharing pictures and stuff, and then it turned into, you know, the cesspool that, you know.
Then we got Twitter.
Yeah, and then there's Twitter.
Oh, and then there's Twitter and yeah. So there's like, it's like there's always, as long as humans are in charge, there's gonna be a dark side to all of this technology. And but I'm not gonna lie, so many creatives are scared
I get it.
of what AI can do in terms of replacing our jobs, and I've been having this discussion with so many people just this week because of the strike, in terms of like, well, what can we do to adapt? I have some friends that don't even want to touch ChatGPT. They're like, I don't even want to fuck with AI. But then there's that survival. I don't know if it's because I'm a Cuban child of refugees, but I have this like survivalist mentality, and I'm like,
A resolver.
bro, like, it's not like I'm 80 y pa' carajo. Like, I don't need to fucking fuck with AI. I'll
Right.
die y pa' la pinga. But I'm in my 30s, bro. So we're still young.
Yeah.
And I'm like, shit, like, it's like you either adapt or die or get left behind. And God forbid, like, that's where the end, because let's be real, I just think no one's going to really let go of AI. I'm
Oh, no,
sorry.
it's here.
It's here. It's going to stay. It's going to continue. They're saying, like, right now, I mean, Google already came out with Bard, which is in beta.
We've been invited, by the way, to participate, and I keep saying no, thank you.
And Bard.
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 Get Bard.
It's the
Their
competitor of
ChatGPT.
ChatGPT.
Oh.
And it's getting really intense. And then there's like a ton of other, like, there's a program that'll edit your whole podcast for you.
So
By itself.
So maybe we're gonna be out of a podcast because there's gonna be an AI. Pero let me tell you.
You guys are irreplaceable, but it's like it's happening in the editing world. It's happening in the web design world. Like, and again, it's like, I myself feel torn because I have ADHD. I personally have a really hard time, for instance, writing emails or a lot of that stuff that takes up more of my time.
Administrative.
Administrative stuff that I wish I could truncate. And now AI is doing that for a lot of people. There's like email services that are AI oriented now, that it just knows how to organize your stuff and it starts learning how you write to certain people. And I don't hate it. I'm going to be honest. That I don't hate, because it helps people like me, especially like neurodivergent. I'm bad at time management. Anything administrative, like you said, is really hard for me.
So it's
It's a time saver, so I can pay more attention to being creative.
If I'm understanding correctly, I think the thing is that we appreciate it as a supplement, but not as a replacement.
As a tool to
but not as a
help us,
replacement.
not as a replacement. And I think there needs to be some kind of, what's the word?
Balance, you know?
Well, the government, I think at some point is going to have to step in, and
Yeah.
because at what point are they going to allow the AI shit to take over?
You know who's talking about this is
Once
Elon
we-
Musk.
Once we nominate
You know,
President AI.
say what you will about
I
him,
know.
but you know the guy knows his stuff, especially with technology and stuff. And you know he's very concerned about AI.
Yeah, he's a
very, very
dumbass,
concerned.
but He's right about that one.
Yeah,
Listen,
no, he is.
when the computers make Elon Musk look like he has a personality, we're in trouble.
Like, the fact that him of all people is like terrified of AI, and he's been warning people like, yo, we need to slow down the rollout. But I do know that there has been a sort of slow rollout. Like, they are holding back from giving us everything, but they're saying like,
But look where we are with the slow.
with the what?
With a slow rollout, look
pretty fast.
look how advanced we are.
It's going pretty
because
fast.
you said November.
November.
So it's been
Not even a year.
7 months.
Yeah.
And, here we are talking about this.
And that's the slow.
That's a slow. I mean, yeah, they're saying like ChatGPT right now is what the first like iPhone 1 was.
Yeah.
Look what iPhone 14 can do now compared to the first iPhone. So it's like, coño, what is Bard and ChatGPT and all these AI programs gonna be like 5 years from now? Not even 2 years from now.
5 years from now.
What is gonna happen? And so, again, my survival brain is like, I want to learn as much as I can, just so that I know how to protect myself. That's my advice to people.
That's fair.
Like, just learn about it. Watch videos. Go on the Reddit threads. Because I think if you're refusing entirely to learn about it, you might get screwed over.
Right.
Yeah, you can't fight without educating yourself.
You have to educate yourself about it. And that's like in any case, with anything. Like, I don't fucking care. I hate Trump. I'm about to lose all my fans. It's fine.
You're in a safe space here.
I hate Trump, but we all had to learn about him and what's going on with the Republican Party. Like, you have to, it's like ammunition.
Yeah.
Right.
To prepare yourself and to fight and to protect yourself and your loved ones. So it's the same thing, I think, with AI, because, again, I hear so many people are resistant to even touching it. And I'm like, you don't even have to download it, whatever, but at least watch videos, learn about it. There's plenty of content creators now that their whole shtick is just talking about AI, like they're pros about it. Oh yeah, you learn a lot already. They will tell you about all the apps that are out, and this app does this app does that. What's crazy is one guy was saying that even when it comes to romantic relations, we're getting to that point.
We're dating AIs now?
Yes.
That what?
We're going to date AIs.
It's going to get to the point that there's going to be AI that's going to be more attractive, more understanding of your needs.
You're going to be emotionally attached to
Emotionally
your AI?
attached to the AI more than a regular old human. And that's the thing, too, that everyone, like a lot of people are talking about.
But can AI give you a massage?
Mira, they're building all those robots, bro. I don't fucking know. Like
Japanese sex robots are number one, babe.
They're out there.
They're out there.
We don't even know.
Ahorita Megan is going to be... It's going to be...
Oh, no.
Like, I mean, and she learned very quickly, so...
Yeah. Y también there's talks about, like, there's going to be situations contractually where, for instance, it already happened with Mel Gibson. You know, Mel Gibson, pobrecito, like, he has the dementia going on, and he signed a contract saying that they can continue to use him in AI form.
Really?
Until even after he dies.
Oh, wow.
And so they're saying that people are going to be able to exist in the AI world after their death, if they so wish.
So Meryl will never stop winning Oscars.
Yes.
Mira, that's sort of, I mean, it's something very different, but that's sort of like what they did with ABBA. Because ABBA did that whole...
Oh, yeah, the hologram thing.
CGI hologram thing. And
they've done it with Tupac and, yeah.
No, but ABBA put on like a full tour. Like, they built a whole thing in Europe, and they put on a whole concert.
They released a new album.
And
when you go see ABBA perform now, you're not really seeing ABBA. They went into a studio with like mocap, and they did the whole thing, and they basically recorded themselves doing the movements
without
of the
having
thing.
to tour.
Without having the tour. And it's a residency in the UK, and you go to the ABBA
and the
arena.
music is played, there's a live band.
Right.
So it's not like all pre-recorded, there is a live
¿Qué
band.
está pasando, you guys? I'm surprised there's not a flying car. Like, that's the one thing we're not getting. We're not getting no goddamn flying cars.
I'm glad.
No, we can't even drive regular cars.
No.
How long has it been?
Porque hay un choque y después se cae arriba de
Un
ti.
choque. No, I've seen how much you like to let that needle fall close to the E.
Oh.
So the last thing I need is for a car to fall out of the sky. Because no, I can make it. I got 3 miles.
People with ADHD especially should not be driving flying cars. Porque we have that issue with the driving on empty. it's getting insane. I know, it's getting insane.
Well, you know what? Let's move on to like a little bit.
Something less
we're
insane.
With Jenny, and here we are talking about like doomsday.
Pero imagínate. What else do we talk about these days? Millennials have gone through a lot of shit. But anyway.
Yeah.
There's like a timeline of like.
Yeah, can we stop condensing all these once-in-a-lifetime events in the last 2 years?
Trauma. Estamos mal.
A lot of this would be a good time to, if you're thinking about a college career, go into psychology. It's a good time to.
AI is going to take care of that too. Don't worry.
No, they already said.
Yeah.
That one person used AI and they said that the AI gave them better advice than their therapist.
Wow.
The overlords are here.
Well then.
It's a thing. Ahorita we're going to wind up in potato sacks and those goopy things in the Matrix.
Okay. So you're talking about WALL-E.
I refuse
to
not be able to touch my toes like that.
I just want to say that WALL-E is one of the most underrated Pixar movies there are.
100%. Oh my God, yes.
I said it.
But watch it, and you'll see that we're actually headed there.
When we saw WALL-E, we were like, I get cute.
That would never happen. And here we are. Oh my God.
By the way, since we're talking to you now today and we're chatting it up.
Uh-huh.
So be happy that you're living in a state where your governor isn't in fighting with Disney.
Pero come mierda got married at Disney.
He did.
Eso me da una risa.
He did. But you know what? Though?
That makes me laugh more.
Though? It was him getting married at Disney was a little taste of things to come, because allegedly he said that when they got married at Disney, he agreed to it with the condition that they wouldn't take a picture with Mickey and Minnie Mouse. And I'm like, who the hell gets married at Disney?
In all fairness, that's my day.
What was his beef, bro?
That's my day. I don't want you to pull focus.
No, because they always have like the cute thing that like when the couples marry and doing their first dance, Minnie and Mickey come and they
that's
like
a thing?
Yeah, and they comes and they interrupt.
Well, he says that he didn't want to. He's like, my wife and her family are big Disney fans, and I did it to be a gentleman. And
I can't.
He's too puffy to be a gentleman.
We talked about that a couple of weeks ago in the episode about the whole fight with Disney. And I was like, oh yeah, Florida's going to be underwater. Our insurance rates are like quadrupling and you're fighting with Mickey Mouse.
I just don't understand these men who think they're so manly. They do not come off that way in any way. I'm like, dude, you are whack. You are picking a fight with a fucking theme park while your residents in Fort Lauderdale are like on a fucking boat to get to their destination because it's still... How is Fort Lauderdale right now?
Fort Lauderdale, as
it's Atlantis now.
It was still... There was still... Because there were pockets of like Fort Lauderdale and Palm Beach that... Well, there was general flooding, but obviously the flooding receded after a few days. But then there were like little pockets of people who still had like 3-4 feet of water in their house.
Y él no hizo nada because that's
nada. He was in China. And then he was in other parts of the country.
No, pero mira, you know what? Ahí lo que fallaron were the flood victims, and I'll tell you why. All those flood victims in Fort Lauderdale had to do was literally just go to Wilton Manors, grab one drag queen, and have her stand in the flood, and DeSantis would have taken action.
He would have shown up immediately.
Right.
Because
you have to think outside the box.
Nothing is more terrifying
than balls and pantyhose.
What a dumb... Es que me da una roña, bro. I don't know how y'all are doing. I ask every day, I'm like, what are my progressive friends in Florida thinking today? Because every other day there's something else that happens.
She's like, what are my progressive friends in Florida? Well, as I was telling you, I work progressive politics
yes,
in Florida.
Bless you.
So, I survived the 2020 election and, and look, I would tell you that at the end of the day, just like anything else, you sort of have to have a sense of humor about it, even though I don't know what's more doomsday, that or AI.
Se dan la mano.
But, it's one of those things that, like, you can't stop. You have to keep fighting for it. I will say this. I think that, especially with our governor, I think there are a lot of people who, even no matter what their political affiliations are, even if they supported him, are sort of getting fed up with him because when he passed that whole open carry bill the other day or a couple of weeks ago, a lot of people that supported him were pissed. Like, we're not going to vote for him again.
Sí, pero you know what they're going to vote for? Trump.
I don't know.
in terms of the presidency. Pero
Can the AI speed up and just become president already? Like, I mean, just
can what?
the AI just become president already?
Who am I voting for AI?
I'm voting
this
for
point,
AI.
an AI
Writing
president?
candidate. A writing candidate. Let's all write in AI.
And the face
Jarvis.
of AI
Yes.
should be I See Dead People.
Haley Joel Osment?
Yes, because he did that movie AI.
I remember seeing
yes.
that in theaters.
Yeah.
I remember that.
What is he doing? I mean, he'll do it.
Yeah.
That's true.
He's really funny. Yeah, bro, I don't know. It's like, I have been hearing that, though, that people are now getting really disappointed in DeSantis. Pero
I think
man.
the disappointment will increase or continue to creep up once all of those 200% to 300% insurance hikes
Yeah.
kick in and nothing is done about it.
You know, unfortunately,
Ooh.
people don't start caring about things
Until it hits their
until it
pocket.
starts hitting
until
their
it
pocket.
affects them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once it hits my bank
Yes.
account, oh, now I'm paying attention.
Right.
So I think that's going to be, I'm not saying it's going to change everybody's mind, but it will be a deciding factor
Pero-
if nothing is done about it.
Yeah, because I'm like, okay, there's all this talk, especially from Cubans in Florida, like, oh, the Democrats are the second coming of Castro. Okay.
It's
Meanwhile,
true. Nancy Pelosi looks great in a beret.
Pero meanwhile, you got this motherfucker who's banning books in the same way Fidel did. And I don't know how these people continue to make excuses for the Republican Party, that they talk about freedom this and freedom that. I'm like, this is not freedom. You're banning fucking drag queens, which is an art form. You're banning books, and not just, like, they're banning, there was a book that was banned that was called Abuelita, and it was just because it had Spanish words in it. There was nothing political, there was nothing
Oh
in
no!
it.
I hope you're not banned.
Mira, let him try.
Although I have to tell you, now that we're talking about, you know, conservatives and your characters, I think that Olga.
Olga.
Como la Coral Gables, Coral Gables.
Gloria.
Gloria, who's my favorite. I think she probably leans a little red.
Of course she does.
Yeah. I mean, she's from Coral
100%.
Gables.
Cuando le conviene.
100% she swears. But meanwhile, I feel like Gloria, though, is at a point where she's like, she leans conservative fiscally. But
I
because
wish
she
I had a
has
camera showing you,
two
like-
gay-ass kids, she's starting to learn.
I love.
Por eso, that's what I'm saying. Cuando le conviene.
I
Like,
love, you know
right.
what? The time she's like, "You're going on a Royal Caribbean cruise."
She is honestly based on a couple people I knew in Miami, and they were so petty and dumb for no reason. Like, always one-upping and like, she went to St. Brendan. This one went to Lourdes. And I'm like, who gives a fuck, lady?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
But that is very real.
I know! And that's why I make fun of it.
It's not an exaggeration.
She's
by
not
any
making
means.
it up.
No.
Like, you're just amplifying it.
No, these
Yeah,
are real people.
yeah.
These are real situations.
And not by
like,
much.
My mom had a friend who was like that, a family friend for a very long time. We don't talk to her anymore for obvious reasons, so now I make fun of her through my character. But don't fuck with comedians. You know what I'm saying?
It's true.
Because you will be.
You won't get the
made
last
fun of
word.
till the last day. And so she would be like that. She'd be like, "Oh, Jenny went to St. Brendan. Bueno, my Giovanni went to Belen." You know, like just going to a private Catholic school wasn't enough. You had to go to like Gulliver Prep,
Right.
or like una cosa así.
So my kid goes to public school.
Good for him.
He goes to a great school. I went to public school all the way through, and there's, you know, he I love his school. I can't tell you how many people are like, "Ay, pero el niño tuyo va a la escuela pública," and I'm like, yes.
They act like, what do they think it is?
Yes.
Do they think it's like a grimy alleyway?
Well, that's where the groomers and the
with
drag
people
queens are.
shooting up?
it's like my kid's school's in Kendall. Like, you know,
Like, dude, I had the biggest drug dealers that went to my private Catholic school.
Oh, we know. That's where we public school kids got our drugs.
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm sure,
yeah.
because their parents had. It's funny because I talk about going to private Catholic school, and people assume I come from money. I'm like, no. First of all, St. Brendan was the cheaper of the Catholic schools, but my mom had holes in her clothes. Es que ella lo tenía en su cabeza, like, I need to put my daughters through private school. So my parents sacrificed so much, so all the money went to that. Pero we didn't have any, like, college savings, like nothing like that.
Pero
like,
la niña iba a una escuela católica.
yes.
And especially since you were a girl, la niña.
I think that was mainly it too. It's like a thing with like las niñas, like, oh, they need to go to a private school. They're going to be more protected there. I'm like, sure.
Because nothing ever happens there.
At all.
No.
There's no puteria. Absolutely.
Nothing ever goes wrong when there's a priest around children. Ever.
Bueno, there was an escándalo with my priest,
¿Cuál?
Father Nixie.
I think I remember
St.
this.
Brendan.
I remember this.
I remember that
Yeah.
they put like a whole thing, we support him in the front.
Yeah.
And then he died mysteriously, and that was very bizarre.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, he died in like a hotel.
Oh.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay, well, this took a turn.
Yikes!
Came to Burbank to get dark,
But yeah,
bitches.
Pero-
that's a very Miami thing. That's the one-upping thing. That's a very Miami thing, and telling
Keeping up
people,
with the Joneses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bueno, con los
Garcias.
Rodríguez. Yeah.
Get Jones, get Jones.
¿Qué nombre had? What's an aristocratic, Cuban name?
Matanzas?
But I don't know.
I don't fucking know.
Bueno, Navarro, because
Navarro.
the pharmacy
They own the
discount.
pharmacies. Yeah, I guess that's why.
Yeah, it's like, it's very, who's renting a house, who has an efficiency, who has this car, who has this purse. That's what I hated, because I always say, and it sounds like an oxymoron, but I'm like, I was a poor kid in a private school, so I really didn't enjoy myself, other than the fact that they had really good arts programs, and that's what saved me. But other than that, I was surrounded by a majority of really vain, materialistic people. Especially the girls, they were all about like, who has a real Fendi or a Louis Vuitton, or like, oh, that girl has a fake blah blah boo 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 boo.
Mm-hmm.
And like, who's going to the regata, and who's doing this in someone's yacht and snorting cocaine off of que sé yo, And me being a fucking nerd, like, I would just go to my friends' houses and play video games, and all my friends were public school, except like a couple friends. I'm still good friends with a few people from St. Brendan.
There's always someone.
But
yeah.
everyone else that I know, no. All my best friends all went to public school. My husband went to Killian.
Yeah.
It's funny because I didn't even date anybody at St. Brendan. Like, all my boyfriends were from public school.
Yeah.
And even public school people were shocked when they'd find out that I went to private school. I'm like, well, I take that as a compliment. And I'm not shitting on all private schools. It's just Miami specifically.
It's your experience.
It's my experience, but a Miami private school is like,
But
oh,
you
my
know what? I
God.
think it's not even so much. I didn't go to private school, so I don't have your experience. But I don't even think so much it's like the school. It's the mindset that comes with
It's not the
school.
It's 100% the mindset, and let's be honest, it's a lot of the parents' fault.
Yeah.
Because some of the worst students, a lot of them had these very bougie, rich, stuck-up, Tia Gloria-esque parents, and I mean, where else are they learning this shit from? So that's just not in me.
Right.
Like, I don't like, saying, a mí no me gusta eso. And I think that's why I make fun of it so much in my videos, because, or even the whole, like, no digas nada, niña. Porque la gente, I am 36 years old, never been pregnant. I'm going to get up right now and knock on all the
There's wood behind you. There's wood behind you.
She's walking to Home Depot just to knock on wood.
I just bought a sander. For no reason. I'm an impulse shopper, but
That would be the best impulse buy ever. She's like, I just walked to Home Depot, I bought a
Who wants a
sander.
sander?
Just bought a sander. It was on sale.
Anyway, I say this because I remember I've always had stomach issues. Like now I have Crohn's. I've always had tripa issues, and I remember in my abuela's house, tripa issues. This should just be in a commercial for Pepto-Bismol. You have tripa issues?
You have tripa issues.
Can you tell I have ADHD? Anyway, so do you have tripa issues? Drink this nasty pink shit, and you'll feel all better.
I think your next sketch just was born here.
Yeah.
This is a sketch.
Pepto-Bismol, hire me, thanks. I actually just got a brand deal with Preparation Age. Anyway,
Esa es la tripa te está saliendo.
Exactly.
that's like the other end of the spectrum. But I remember I was like, when I would feel a little nauseated at my abuela's house, and I'd be like, abuela, tengo náusea. In her house, we didn't live in apartments. It was a house in Westchester, Bird Road and 92nd.
Oh, heart of it.
The heart of it, like right across Bird Bowl. And my abuela would freak out because I said nausea inside the house at a normal volume. She'd be like, ay, niña, no diga eso porque los vecinos van a pensar que está embarazada.
Because you were nauseous?
Yes.
First of all, none of these motherfuckers have bionic hearing. Second of all, is that literally what they're going to think first? You know, Jenny, I knew she looked like a puta. She's definitely pregnant. Instead of thinking I have indigestion.
Te lo dije,
Only
te lo dije.
sluts get nauseous.
And what's funny is that everyone else in my block got knocked up at a very young age. I'ma just keep it real. Todo mundo. La hija de so, I'm not going to say names, but
Pero la diferencia es que ellos no tenían náusea. They kept it
no,
under wraps.
No. They kept it under wraps. And here I am in my 30s, childless and wonderful. Ay, no digas nada, niña, porque la gente va a empezar que está embarazada. And I'm like, who gives a shit? And then, like, when I got Crohn's, it was the same thing. Like, ay, no digas nada, porque que van a empezar la gente. I'm like, listen, we eat like shit in this country. Everyone's shitting their pants. I'm not the only dumbass with IBS.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Por favor. I'm sorry. I'm so tired of this come mierdería. Like, no
That's
digas
why now
nada.
she has a sponsorship with hemorrhoids.
Que van a ver- Give me all the butt cream commercials. I don't give a fuck. I'm actually dying to be one of those commercials that's like, enough Crohn's. And I'm sitting on a toilet. Because they only hire actors with the actual condition for those commercials.
That's true, yeah. Yeah, I work
So I told my managers, I'm like, if there's anything about tripas, just, I don't give a fuck. I'll be in those commercials, flying a kite or something.
Jenny is the Spanish face of Crohn's.
Some Cuban representation for one. Because you know a lot of Cubans have Crohn's disease.
Of course, and we just don't know
and
it.
irritable bowel disease.
Yeah, no, but they probably think it's just those chicharrones.
They're like,
Doesn't help.
There's a little girl waving at us. I don't know who's waving. She's waving. Okay.
Why not?
It's LA. Everyone's really friendly.
They
You
are.
have friendly. We were talking yesterday
to Eddie.
To Eddie from Yum Yum Foodie, and obviously I've been driving a lot here with my GPS, so I've had to make turns and and all that all of a sudden, and have had to quote unquote cut people off, and nobody's honked at me. Nobody's rammed their car into the car, and I'm like, oh my gosh. I even told him, I'm like, nobody's honked at us. All the
people
we've
use
done a
their
lot
blinkers.
of driving. Yes. They
People
stop
let
at
you
stop
merge.
signs. Yes.
People here are definitely better drivers. There's not a lot of speed racers.
Yeah.
The car culture, actually Burbank has a specific car culture, which a lot of times you'll see Jay Leno, because he collects classic cars, and he lives in Burbank. So los viejos, old white dudes, will just drive their little fucking classics. Pero it's rare when you see someone speeding, cutting people off. People rarely honk. It took me a while to get used to, because I was like, I have PTSD from Miami drivers just honking at you for nothing. But it's funny because if you talk to an Angelino, they're like, oh my God, we're the worst drivers. I'm like, bitch, you have no idea.
I have no idea.
It's because maybe they come from a random small town.
from
and they're
Iowa.
like, oh my God, we're the worst here.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, honey, you wouldn't last a day in Miami. Would not last a day.
So tell us, since you're born and raised in Miami and you've lived here already about 10 years?
Almost 8 years.
Yeah. And so what do you think are the similarities between LA and Miami?
There are a lot of Latinos, a lot of Spanish speakers, but from different country, obviously. So instead of Caribbean culture, it's mostly Central and Mexican. So Salvadorian, Mexican. Miami's definitely more of a melting pot with a lot of South American nationalities y también obviously the Caribbean. It's still cool because it's a different type of melting pot out here. There's a lot of Armenians. There's a lot of Asian people, which in Miami I barely had any Asian friends because it was just more rare for some reason. Miami was mostly you're either white, you're black, or you're Caribbean or South American. So out here, I've made friends, made friendships with people from different parts of the world that I had never had that opportunity in Miami. What's funny though is that me and my husband talk about this all the time. Armenians are just like Miami people, like Miami Cubans, and it's so crazy because it's such different parts of the globe. But not only do they look like us, but it's like similar attitudes, like especially los
Really?
viejos, like old Armenian men are like very similar. And también like they're Trumpy.
Are they late?
I don't know about that, but they're very like machista.
Okay.
See, so there's like that like, and like even the young guys remind me of like the papi chulo like fucking guys you see in Miami.
Uniel?
Like the Uniels.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'll see like now I'm more used to it, but I used to think a lot of people that I bump into that were Armenian were Latino.
Oh,
because they look a lot like Cubans. Like they look a lot like Miami Cubans. So it's really fascinating to see like the similarities in our cultures and stuff. What else?
The traffic.
Yeah, like there's obviously there's traffic here. You can't live without a car, just like Miami. You have to have a car. There are beaches, with a bonus of mountains.
Ding ding bonus.
Bonus of mountains.
Level up.
¿Qué más? It's like I'm at a point now that I really don't go out much at night. Like LA is definitely more of an arts place, so people will go out late to watch comedy shows and stuff like that. It's not really known for its like clubbing and nightlife like Miami is. Yeah. It has its nightlife, and like the queer scene is the best. My favorite area is to go to WeHo.
Going tonight.
Yeah. Because it's like everyone is just fucking like LA in general is like a city where you can just be whoever you are.
Yeah.
Dress however you want. Like no one really judges you. I felt more judged in Miami for any stupid little thing. And it was like, okay, like one time I was like at a cosplay event and it wasn't anywhere, it was like in the summer. And this one guy was like, it's not Halloween, bro. I'm like, whoa, what is this? Like, like, fuck, I can't fucking dress up any other time of the year. It's not Halloween. So
that's a very Miami attitude.
Yeah, it's like people here just weird or more. They allow themselves to be weird and creative and gay as shit, and no one cares.
Yeah.
And so it's more of like an accepting place. I think unless you've lived here, I know that LA gets a lot of hate. I think because people think, oh no, it's LA, it's Hollywood, it's where all the celebrities are, so it must be like super fake and materialistic. But I felt like Miami was more materialistic.
I think I haven't lived in LA. I mean, I've been here several times, but I haven't lived here. I think probably the whole fakery thing that LA is known for, that's probably true within certain factions.
Yes, it is. Especially in the entertainment industry.
In the entertainment
100%.
business, but in terms of your everyday person,
it's
not. Whereas in
chill.
Miami, your everyday person, again, what we were talking about, Gloria, Tia Gloria, and
it's very judgy.
Tia Gloria is a character,
It's
but Tia Gloria is very true. Like everybody knows somebody like that, and it's the one-upping and who has a BMW. As I always say, Miami, where you live in efficiency, but you drive a BMW.
Bro.
It's
very much about like what you own, what you have. I think, especially with Gen Z taking over, the culture out here now is more like thrifting, and I think that's happening across the U.S. in general, just like recycling clothes instead of buying. Pero I feel like I can go dressed however, or even without makeup and stuff, and I don't feel judged. Like no one cares. Yeah. And customer service is nicer here too.
Oh, well.
Listen, compared to Miami, that just means it exists.
That it's
I always say, listen. I love it. It's a warm feeling to get una vieja cubana giving you customer service.
No, that's my favorite.
I love it for all the wrong reasons. Like, I don't get mad at it. Mira, the best example I have was some years ago. I was at the Walgreens in Hialeah on 49th and 16th, so in the heart of Hialeah. Y parece that they had put in a new system to ring up people. And the lady's name was Mirta. It was even perfect.
Of course it was Mirta.
And she was there like, este sistema nuevo, ay, mándame la muerte, Dios. Like, so dramatic and just so giving everybody the side eye, like, ugh. And
it's almost like they don't want to do their jobs. Yeah. I'm like, girl, I get it. I worked many retail jobs in Miami. I've been there, done that.
Yeah.
But it's true. Like, they act like they don't want to be there.
Yeah. No, see, I said this story, I think, last week with Eddie. a couple of weeks ago, I forget who it was that they were coming over to the studio to do a podcast episode. And I was like, I'm going to go get some pastelitos and croquetas. But, it was like 7 o'clock at night. So, the bakeries, have run low at that moment. There isn't a lot of selection left. So I go in and I tell the lady, me da 10 pastelitos de queso. Before I finish the sentence, she's like, no quedan. Or there was like 3.
She just wanted to tell you so badly.
She's like, quedan nada más esos.
She was like, I know.
She didn't let me finish the sentence.
She didn't want to.
But then her coworker heard her, no, miri, allá trae más. She's like,
pero pipa. Come on.
She now had to walk 15 feet to get pastelitos.
And I don't get mad at that. I'm like,
you thought she was going into the mines.
I like when I get the sweet Cuban ladies that are like mi cielo y mi cariño, and I'm like, ay.
Yeah.
But even the young people though, because like these crotchety viejas, God bless them. But then there's like people my age or younger, and like a few years back, David and I went to like fucking some grill place in Kendall. And we were just the only people there, and we're just staring at the girl behind the counter. She took forever to acknowledge our existence. She wasn't doing anything. And then she, like, notices us. She's like, what do you want? Yeah. I was like, we'd like to order a sandwich. We ordered our food. But the whole time, she had, like, this weird attitude, like, that we were inconveniencing her.
At her place of business.
Y la misma mierda me pasa at Miami International Airport. Like, customer service, doesn't matter if you're going to PacSun or a Cuban bakery or, a funny one was Pollo Tropical. And again, if you're listening and you're not from Miami, Miami's first language is Spanish. So they expect you to speak Spanish. They don't give a fuck what you look like. So Pollo Tropical through the drive-thru, and this was when I was already vegan. Now they have these like veggie bowls. And now they have Impossible meat. This is before that anyway. But they had the veggie bowls. And I'm forgetting the name for it, but it's like, it's a bowl. And so through the drive-thru with my mom, they're like, ¿Qué tú quieres ordenar? And I say it, we say it in Spanish. See the bowl, whatever. ¿Con carne? No, sin carne. ¿Con pollo o bistec? Sin carne. The lady refused to accept the fact that I was ordering this without meat. Okay? And then she gave me the wrong thing anyway.
She was like, mira, yo pasé mucho trabajo en Cuba que no había carne.
Pero esta come mierda.
But that's like, what is it, my big fat Greek wedding?
Yes.
Where she's like, he's vegetarian, I make lamb.
Like,
yeah, or like a lot of Cuban, like, pero tú comes pescado. I'm like, lady, pero ¿qué tú crees que what do you think pescado is?
No.
A broccoli head? It's a fucking animal. It's meat. They don't think that fish is meat. It's super weird. I'm like, no, I don't eat that. Oh my God.
I love it.
So wait, so you left Pollo Tropical without your veggie bowl? So te quedaste con hambre.
Se quedó con las ganas.
I don't remember. I just know I was so frustrated.
I feel though that you, I know you go back to home, with some frequency, but I feel that you need to go back to like recharge your batteries in terms of content,
Oh my God, we're dying to go back just to me and Kevin's dream is to go for like a few weeks or even. It's like, imagínate, it's tough with work out here,
right,
but at least 2 weeks for shooting purposes, and filming with different people and getting to film at the locations. Like, we're dying to do that.
Well, I will tell you, whenever you're in town, if you need a location, it's a 1-bedroom, but if Tia Gloria needs a place in the Gables, maybe you can use my apartment.
Thank you.
Tia Gloria wouldn't stay with me. I live in Kendall.
Yeah.
I've told you this before. I want Tia Gloria to have a spinoff.
No. Who's gonna watch that fucking thing?
Me. But you know what? You know why? Because I feel that your other characters are endearing and they're warm. Tia Gloria is that type of character that you like to hate. That it's like
you just have to make sure that the people around her are doing the heavy lifting of making you want to come back.
Right.
Giving her comeuppance or
the reason why Tia Gloria is fun for me is because there's a lot of, aside from the writer's strike and everything, there's been so many issues in Hollywood specifically, and I learned this through not only my experience with pitching shows and having countless meetings with all kinds of folks in the industry, but also having Latino friends who are showrunners and TV writers And everyone has all these horror stories. Que the Hollywood execs are afraid of making Latinos look bad. And so everything has to be watered down for general audience because they think no one's going to watch it if it's like super specific and whatever. But at the same time, everyone has to be hella woke and progressive. If you look at shows like Que Pasa USA, Luis Santeiro is a progressive Cuban, the creator of the show. Shout out. The best. And you can tell, because if you go back and watch the show, he touched upon so many hard-hitting topics like homophobia, racism, double standards between men and women, but he did it in a very smart way. It didn't feel like you were being preached at, and he allowed the characters to be flawed.
You have to.
Like the dad being like machista and not letting his wife work and like wanting Joe to lose his virginity, but Carmencita couldn't go out and wasn't the Pepe was gay in real life.
He was.
That's what we've heard.
He's always been very personal about
right.
it.
Okay, so you can take that out. But
right.
But it was really rather progressive. It taught, but again, like, oh my God, I'll never forget this one episode where Carmen had like a study buddy who was black and she was interested in dating him.
Yes.
The computer friend.
Charles.
Who also had beef with Joe, her brother.
Yep.
And the whole time the abuelos are freaking out that she has this black guy there that's like potential romantic interest, and they start hiding shit.
Yeah. Yep.
Because they think he's gonna steal.
Gallo, el cuadro.
Yes. But then his black mother would come over, and she had her own prejudices against Cubans, because again, this was during a time where Cubans were starting to come into the U.S. and a lot of South Floridians were not about it. Reminder to the Cubans, and so, you know, and then the funniest thing to me about the end was that Joe's best friend, who's a black Cuban, shows up. And the American black guy's like, wait a second, how come you're okay with him and not me? And then Joe turns to his friend, he's like, he's not black, he's Cuban. That was the realest fucking shit. Yeah. And the thing is, you
100%.
learn your lessons about racism and all this stuff through comedy, and you have to allow the characters to be flawed.
Yeah, I think that's where the key is, that like when Pepe would say anything that was like misogynistic or racist or even homophobic, you knew that he was wrong. Like it was set up in a way that you knew that he was the flawed character, and it was funny. It was funny. It was relatable.
Right.
And it was always like he was the flawed character. Juana was like the voice of reason.
Right.
Like, what the heck is wrong with you? You know.
Right.
And it was like that in like so many topics. And, you know, it's funny because a lot of the things that they discussed in that show, I mean, I just think that Que Pasa USA, in terms of especially Cuban comedy, is the holy grail. Like,
it's the holy grail, man.
Nothing has ever come close.
No.
And the thing with the Que Pasa USA is that it captured a place and time.
Right.
It captured Miami in the 70s and the 80s.
That experience.
And what it was.
But they did it right, man. And that's how you do comedy. And so I wanted Tia Gloria to at first feel uncomfortable about Jamie being gay and like letting the family know that he was gay and then accepting it. And now, I mean, Tia Gloria's had an arc because she's now like best friends with Jamie's boyfriend, who happens to be Afro-Nicaraguan.
Verdad.
Then we did another episode where Tony Rodriguez, who plays Jamie, Tia Gloria's son, he also plays his dad, Rolando, Tia Gloria's estranged husband. And we were scared, but we're like, fuck it, we're going to film this, where he meets Jamie's boyfriend for the first time, and he looks, like, perturbed, and Jamie's like, yes, Dad, we're gay, like, fucking deal with it. But the dad didn't have an issue with him being gay, he had an issue with him being Nicaraguan.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense.
And, you know, I was scared at first to release something like that. Got no negative comments. Because people knew what we were trying to do. Everyone has that tío, that dad. You know, Latinos are just like this. And, like, what is comedy without poking fun at the flaws?
Of course.
Of humanity, of a culture, of whatever. So, la cosa es que Hollywood todavía keeps trying to destroy our stories, and, like, everyone has to be perfect. Everyone has to be this. Everyone has to be... Latinos can't look bad.
Yeah. But I feel the same way whenever there's, you know, some type of, like, I don't want to use the word negative, but, like, a quote-unquote, you know, less than holy
gay character, right? And people are like, oh, but the representation, blah, blah. I'm like, bro, not everybody who comes out of the closet comes out with a halo. Like, some people just suck.
Some people suck.
Like it doesn't matter who you're sleeping with.
You could be black and be terrible. You
suck.
could be disabled and be terrible. You can be gay and be terrible.
Right.
Like, people are just terrible.
Yeah, and you can't just always. But again, it's that worry of like because they've been marginalized for so long, you don't want to show a negative
100%.
light. But then you're not showing a human being.
You're not showing a human being.
You're showing a character
or a caricature. Who is this for then?
Right, because I'm not going to watch it because I can't relate to that person.
Actual queer people are not going to watch it, like you're saying.
Or I'm not. Latinos are not going to watch it because they're like, I don't know what this caricature of a human being is supposed to be. White people aren't going to watch it because they really don't relate to it. So then who's supposed to come to the table?
And it's like so watered down that it's not like specific enough for white people to enjoy it.
Right.
And so it's a freaking mess. It's a mess. And so a part of me is like, I'll just, I'm going to keep fighting the good fight and try to sell for TV, todo eso, pero I got to keep with the digital stuff because that's where
we always tell you how much we love what you've done because first of all, you've done it on your own. Like nobody gave you
ain't no nepo baby here, babes.
Oh, you built this like kind of world of characters and all that everybody loves on your own, and it's evolved, and that says a lot about the Miami struggle, hustle.
Yes.
And the Cuban hustle, the Latin hustle, whatever you want to call it. But it is a thing because you created your own path.
Yeah.
You really did.
Yeah.
That's what a lot of people have to do these days is the thing. Things are getting so much more difficult. I think in every aspect, like not just entertainment industry, that you gotta kind of like learn multiple trades and have as many tools in your belt as possible. Porque it's truly a survival thing at this point. It's not what things used to be. And now you hear like Gen Z, like I thought millennials were like that, but Gen Z's even more. Like they'll quit a job in like a month if they hop from job to job. Now it's more frequent that it's very rare to find someone who's been in the same job or same company
20 years
for like a long time. It's more rare to see. That's something we saw with like our parents' generation. Pero I think we're all just kind of fed up.
Yeah, that if you had a good job, you took whatever, you didn't
ask for a raise. And of course, that was more common with minorities.
Yeah,
because
that's
it's
true.
like, be happy that this is what you're getting, and it still exists hardcore, especially in the entertainment industry. Like, just take it, whatever. But people are starting to, be more vocal, and fighting back.
Yeah, I'd say should.
Well, as we wrap up, you are beloved by many, especially by us. And so we end every episode with a last soda for somebody who's just kicking ass and taking names and doing the good fight. And I think it's been very clear this entire episode that you keep doing that. So we're going to give you our last soda for this week's episode.
Soda's for Jenny.
Soda's for Jenny.
And all her characters.
I will say, we were talking earlier, you're a Jupiña queen, so we're going to give you a Jupiña.
Thank you.
We're going to give you, actually, we know a guy. So we'll
see, that's one of the classic cars driving off. But probably some old white dude, 75 or something.
It was a Datsun. I haven't seen one of those in a while.
He probably took it off the lot of the studio somewhere.
Yeah, he's probably like an exec.
But thank you for joining us, Jenny.
Thank you.
And thank you for everything you do. Like, I'm not blowing smoke up your ass.
I want to tell you one last thing.
Thank you for everything.
I want to tell you one last thing as we close the episode. I had sent you this via a DM last year when it happened, but I'll tell you again on the show. My grandmother passed away last year, and my grandmother was and is like the love of my life. Like, it's just like this warm, thing of abuela. And you're obviously, I always liked your character of abuela, but after she passed, like, it meant so much more because, like, I know your character obviously was based on your grandmother, and you've sort of kept her alive, with that
without AI,
yes, and I think that for those of us who had that, grandmother, that abuela, that warm, beautiful love, it's sort of, you see it now, and I see it now, and it takes it means something a little bit different. So thank you for that, because all of us have had such great abuelas and abuelos.
Yeah.
I think that that, I mean, as I said, Gloria is my favorite, but Abuela is like the one that really, touches your heart. And, all of our grandmothers, we see all of our grandmothers in your
That's what I really hope to do. And it's still weird to think about how Abuela even blew up the way she did, but I take character acting very seriously. I feel like because for a long time I was worried. I'm like, who's going to pay attention to a 30-year-old? And back when I started her, I was still in my late 20s. I'm like, who's going to pay attention to this? Like, I'm not really an old woman. Like, who's going to really? But let me tell you, like, so many people. Did I just say your podcast name?
Yeah. Pero let me tell you, you did.
That was not even on purpose.
Saved it till the end.
Pero let me tell you that a lot of folks have told me the same thing, and they'll hire me for cameos. You know that app, Cameo? And they'll be like, my abuela passed away, and I just graduated college, and I want the abuela character to congratulate me because my abuela can't, like...
Yeah.
And it's really intense.
Wow.
It's very intense, and I think that's why I don't want to stop playing her, because it's more than a comedy thing at this point. I'm just glad that people trust me enough to represent that for them, despite knowing that I'm not really an abuela, you know what I mean?
People know Vicki Lawrence wasn't really Mama's age.
Right, she wasn't Mama's age, and again, they know that I'm channeling my real abuela, so I'm not... Again, I don't like to treat my characters as caricatures. They're people.
Yeah, they're based on real people and real experiences. So
thank you so much, man.
No, yeah, it really did. I DM'd you all about that because, like, I remember, my grandmother was 94, so I mean, it's the course of life, but it's something that you never really are able to
at all.
grapple, and you feel a loneliness and an emptiness that, like, and I remember seeing I even forgot which one it was, one of the random abuela sketches shortly a few days after, and I'm like, oh, it hit differently. It hit so differently now than it would have, a couple of weeks ago. And I was like, wow, that's when something is really good, when it's able to evoke that. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much. That means a lot.
Bueno, yeah. Thank you, Jenny, for being on our show and being our co-host in LA. I think this concludes
yet again we have proven unable to do 20 minutes.
No.
Not with me.
So she was co-hosting.
No,
so,
you're co-hosting.
So I think this concludes our Pero Let Me Tell You Goes West series of episodes.
Yep.
So
we still have one interview coming down the pike, but yeah.
Right. But so thank you, everybody, for coming on this Western journey with us to California.
Yes.
We had said, we've said this a few times, when we first started doing episodes in California in 2019, we always intended to do this every year. But, a pandemic got in the way, and that went to the gutter. So thank you, everybody. Remember, what did I say at the end? We hope you listened, laughed, and learned. And as always,
he's on a time delay.
Remember to grab your pastelito, your croqueta, and your cafecito. And thank you so much for joining us, everybody.
All right,
bye-bye.
Mi gente. Bye. Pero Let Me Tell You is co-hosted by Darian Borges and Ismaeliano, produced by Ismaeliano, and our theme, Pero Let Me Tell You Freestyle, is composed by Michael Angelo Lomlaplex, the official gay guy. And don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes.